Hi everyone, it's LadyJenevia. A few weeks ago, I attended Zack Snyder's SnyderCon, as it's being called by some people. At this event, the director's cuts of Dawn of the Dead, Watchmen, and Batman vs. Superman were screened, then food was served, and then panels were held. I had a wonderful time over this weekend, so I wanted to share about my experience of attending, but I've also seen a lot of misconceptions floating around and a lot of needlessly tumultuous discourse, so I wanted to come on here and set the record straight because I am not about to buy into some nonsense that people are spouting for the sake of clicks or for the sake of them not doing their proper research. I was there, I know how things went, and I don't particularly care for people manipulating context. One of the first things I saw some people riled up about, and this was before the event actually happened, was the pricing. The 3 screenings were available for purchase at the price of $100 each. Or you could buy a weekend pass to attend all 3 at the discounted rate of $275. If you got a weekend pass, you also got this cute lanyard, and all of the proceeds were being raised for Zack's alma mater, the Arts Center, which is also where the event was held. The theater that they have there is exactly the same as when Zack attended.
You know, it's a great cause, trying to get this theater turned into like a world-class venue, because like I said every night that this theater is exactly the same as it was when I came to school here, in no way different, except for in no way different.
Zack also had shirts made available for purchase online for this event, along with posters that were sold on site to further give people the opportunity to help with the fundraising. What is or is not affordable is something that's entirely subjective. If you don't like the price, no one is forcing you to purchase it. There are a lot of new cons that have been springing up lately, some of which I think are total ripoffs designed to exploit the adoration of fans, hoping for a few seconds with an actor that they admire. But you know what? I don't spend my money on those cons. It's really not that complicated. To me, this seemed like an event that was worth the money. And now, after having attended it, I can say that my theory was correct. In general, directors I admire don't make themselves accessible to fans. I wouldn't say that it's all coming from a lack of interest in meeting their fans. I think it's more to do with the current consumerism of fan culture, which is such that cons often focus more on booking actors from film and television, and then maybe some writers or artists that work in print content such as comics or books, instead of people from other facets of producing entertainment media. Now we can begin with Friday, day 1 of the event. Dawn of the Dead was the film that was screened. The crowd was the smallest out of the 3 days, and the overall energy was much more laid back compared to the rest of the weekend. This particular screening was not sold out, and to be quite honest, if you wanted to meet Zack, this was the best day to do it. The theater wasn't even full for the panel. It seemed as if a fair few people left after the screening and before the panel actually began. I don't know why you would do that, considering that you paid to be there, but I digress. Dawn of the Dead was a really fun film to watch. Even Jake Weber, who was one of the guest panelists that day, stated how he hadn't seen the film since it first came out and was really impressed with how good it was.
I noticed it the first time, and I haven't seen this since the premiere in 2004, but I felt that what Zack did was really cool, is that he never made it maudlin, but he still allowed for some emotional content, but without doing too much. And just the tone and the pacing, this is a good fucking movie, man.
You're awesome. You're awesome.
The most appealing what if about getting to attend these screenings was the possibility of getting to ask Zack questions about his work. I love getting to interview content creators whose work I admire, but as someone who is very much small media, it is virtually unheard of to be able to get the opportunity to interview someone that is as established and successful as Zack. I am not getting access to the big Hollywood film junkets. So this was my moment. During the Q&A portion of the Dawn of the Dead panel, I raised my hand to ask a question. Mind you, I had rewatched all of these films in advance to brainstorm possible questions to ask and backups to my top tier of questions. If you've done interviews before, you also know know that you need to be able to improvise because you have no idea what's going to happen in the dialogue until it actually happens. There's one particular shot at the end of Dawn of the Dead that offers not only a rare moment of quiet in the chaos of a running zombie outbreak, but it's visually one of, if not the most beautiful shots of the entire film. Since this film was released 15 years ago, and I wasn't about to presume that he would remember every detail of every shot that was worked on in this film, I also offered up a backup question to him regarding his color work, since his color palettes are consistently excellent throughout his body of work. Zack Snyder ended up answering my question about that one shot for almost 8 minutes. I am not exaggerating. You can go check the panel footage for yourself. Am I worthy of such generosity?
I think we did get that shot pretty early, which I thought was a triumph in itself, because when I was watching the movie tonight, I was like, okay, when he actually says the line, the sun's kind of low in his eyes, and I felt like, okay, I believe that.
After the panel, Zack spent a pretty good amount of time meeting fans, speaking with them, taking pictures with them, and I was one of the people that was able to chat with him for a bit. Admittedly, I said a lot, or as much as I could, and I'll do my best to sum up some of the points that I made to him. I expressed a lot of appreciation for Michael Shannon's General Zod and said that he's one of my all-time favorite villains on screen. I raved about Tao Okamoto being Mercy Graves because I all but never get to see Japanese women on screen in Hollywood content, let alone in films that move me so significantly. And I said how I had held out hope that he would bring her back, since Mercy is a character that has been presented before with cybernetics. Zack spoke very highly of Tao when I brought her up and was saying that she's so awesome that once he cast her, he wanted to use her as much as possible in the film. I told him that I really appreciate him using his status and success to tell stories that empower disenfranchised groups, particularly since Hollywood is so lacking in diversity and quality representation. I also told him that not only does he have a knack for casting, but I firmly believe that part of why he gets such great performances out of these actors is that he's such a kind and positive person with how he treats the people on his sets. Saturday was the Watchmen screening and panel, and it was sold out. So naturally, the crowd was bigger, the energy was higher. But let's just address the elephant in the room. This was the panel at which he uttered the now overly clickbaited line, "You're living in a dream world." If you actually value context, instead of buying into all of the manipulated garbage that gets classified as journalism today, the best way to get the full understanding of what happened here is to first watch the film, even if it's not the director's cut. Then you can play the video of the panel and go to the question that was asked and listen to Zack's full answer. During this answer, which was several minutes long, by the way, he outright stated that he likes the Marvel films, he goes and sees all of them, but that bit of information doesn't fit the agenda that a lot of these bloggers have and isn't something that they deem as worthy of making into clickbait. So that's not what gets injected into the larger discourse on film Twitter.
The thing with comic book movies is, and I'm a fan. Like I go and see them and I love them. And I don't have a, I go and see all the Avengers movies and I go and I enjoy them and I love it. It's not, you don't have to not enjoy them, but you also have to be like open to other things as well.
People want to preach about how important it is to not bully people online and to not contribute to these toxic ideals that lead people to severely struggle with their mental health and self-worth, and yet they will write and click on this completely pointless garbage that does nothing but fuel this culture of needless hate and negativity. Zack Snyder is a creative, energetic artist and a genuine kind person. He has every right to defend his artistic vision, especially considering how much outrageous slander people post about him. Additionally, to anyone that got all in their feelings over the fact that he may have used a swear word or two, I would again reiterate the point I just made, that you should watch the clip in full. You are not going to get the full context from print media, which is another reason why I don't consume a lot of print media in entertainment journalism, because it's very easy for them to manipulate context, and they do it quite frequently. I want the full context of seeing someone's body language and hearing their tone of voice. And these panels had a much more informal setting. Zack is not on the clock here. He's in a room full of fans, and he swears sometimes. We all swear sometimes. I swear. I don't do it on my channel, but that's more to do with YouTube's algorithms. If it's just me hanging out with my mates, yeah, most likely going to swear. During this panel, I asked Zack about slow motion, since it's very present in not only Watchmen, but his larger body of work.
There's something off-putting and weird about it too, which I think is cool in retrospect, that it's not 100% like, you know, this weird, like, ultra slow motion that you can achieve now with a digital camera, like 1,000 frames per second. It's like no big deal. Like anyone can shoot 1,000 frames per second. But we were like really struggling to kind of create that.
Because you can't slow a flash down.
After this panel, I got a better photo with Zack, since the ones from Friday had bad lighting, and I also got to meet Deborah and talk to her about how much I appreciated the advice she gave to women with aspirations for this industry.
I think that as many people that say no, you just keep saying yes, I can, and just know that you can, because sometimes that's really hard. Getting rejected and even getting movies made is hard. It took, I mean, how many years did it take when we did 300? It took years and years to get that movie made. I have a passion project of, you know, Zack and mine right now, and it's been 10 years and we're still trying to get it made.
Sunday was the big one. Batman vs. Superman was screened, and people were yelling out for most of the film to express their appreciation for various names in the opening credits, strong character moments, the bathtub scene. One of the misconceptions I saw circulating about this panel was that it was shorter because Zack's people were ushering him off to protect him. And that's not true. Zack already said on his Vero account that he had an early flight the next morning, and he also did a long signing session after this panel with Deborah and some of the other panelists. So these two reasons are why they wanted to make sure the panel wrapped in an hour. Clearly, Zack and the other organizers wanted to make sure that the fans that paid to be there would have the opportunity to meet them, particularly since some of the people that were at this screening had not been at the other days. Another thing I saw pop up in my comments multiple times was people lashing out over the fact that one of the fans that came to the Q&A asked Zack which Spider-Man film and actor were his favorites. Now, I don't know this fan personally. I don't actually even know what their name is, but I did see something being circulated around Twitter that was claiming that he was harassed so much because of this question that he, I think, either deleted his Twitter account or just was no longer using it. To me, it sounds like a lot of people are lacking in self-awareness, considering how many fans of Zack rightfully express their disdain for how Zack is treated by people who dislike his work. It was a harmless question, and this fan paid to be there. If you wanted to ask Zack a question, you should have bought a ticket. Now, I know that budgeting can be an issue, so if you could not afford to buy a ticket when this event was happening, I would suggest that you start saving up now, because it's my understanding that Zack did enjoy his time at these screenings and is interested in doing either another one of these events or something similar to it. I also saw people complaining about the fan that asked Zack about his uniforms. Listen, maybe I just come from a different branch on the tree of film and TV nerds, but I have been to Comic-Con many times, and back in the day when Nerd HQ was a thing, that was a series of panels that were entirely for charity and allowed for a connection between a particular actor or actors and their fans, and the fans could ask them anything they wanted within reason. As long as the talent was not offended by the question, then there was nothing wrong with them asking even the silliest questions if that's what they felt inspired to ask. If they wanted to ask, if you were a breakfast cereal, which would you be? Or what's your favorite breakfast cereal? I don't know why I'm thinking about breakfast cereal. Maybe that's a question I heard at a Nerd HQ panel. I don't know. The point is that when there's an air of informality, then people can ask what they choose. If it's a studio sanctioned panel, then it's very important to stay on topic because the studio has funded it and it's intended to serve the purpose of promoting a particular project. If Zack isn't bothered by the question, then there's no reason for you to be either. It's not that deep. Take a nap, take a walk, put some Windex on it. When the panel first began, one of the things that came up in discussion was the technical malfunction that had happened during the beginning of this screening, in which there was an odd yellow tint to the footage that was eventually corrected after a few minutes. Larry Fong was saying how he noticed it, of course, but was surprised when he overheard other people in the audience saying that the color looked weird.
I was kind of bummed out, and I thought, nah, was anyone really gonna... I had to let it go because I'm sure no one's gonna care. And meanwhile, you hear people behind me go, the color's weird.
So buy those t-shirts, guys, if you want a good color.
Like, and then it changes, right? And yeah, someone got me goes, it's still kind of red. So like everyone memorized the look of the movie, which I think is so cool. Don't underestimate those fanboys.
And girls.
Those girls are...
That's right, that was me making it known that ladies were in the building. I asked a question of my own during this Q&A, but before I asked it, I thanked Zack again for casting Tao in the film. Even though I was on the edge of getting weepy, I managed to hold it in, so clearly I am as powerful as a mighty mountain. The question I asked was in regards to the use of fear of the other as a theme in the film, and I really appreciated what Zack had to say about it. So much so that I'm going to play the entire clip of his answer.
This whole idea of sort of treating Superman as an immigrant or as like, you know, this other, an alien, you know, and you know, the pun is not, you know, not meant. And I think that really informed a lot of just the way we thought about it. And, you know, it's a lot about, but I think also it's interesting that it doesn't judge, the movie kind of doesn't judge in a lot of ways. It allows people to have a point of view that's the opposite and then change and then have another point of view. And I think that that's an important message of the movie too, is that like we learn from each other. Like it's, a lot of it's misunderstanding, you know, like a lot of it is that we're not taking time to look from the other perspective. And if we did, we would be able to see maybe another world, like another way of feeling. And I think that that's an important part of the movie, and I think it comes through anyway, so it's a great question.
Did you see that? Did you see Zack Snyder tell me that's a great question? Oh my god. Do you think that after getting that validation that I will ever let petty haters ruin my mood again? I think the not. After the panel, I met everyone at the signing and ended up getting these items signed. I was given these by one of the people working the event, which was so kind and generous of them. They're really cute and funny souvenirs. It was nice to meet all of the panelists and to express to them how great their work is, since films are truly a collaborative effort that are only possible because of so many people working hard behind the scenes. And I was so grateful to meet Zack and Deborah again and thank them once more for doing this event since it was so special. I told Zack at this signing that if he ever needs another moderator for any sort of event, that I will totally do it. And his response was to say something to the effect of, well, I mean, you kind of already did, referring to the fact that I was there every day and asked a question every day. I was a woman on a mission. And now I can say, mission accomplished. When I talked to Deborah at this signing, she thanked me again for coming and for asking such great questions during the panels. Her words, not mine. Trust me when I say that I am beyond flattered that Deborah Snyder would compliment me in this way. I also told her that I had previously told Zack this, but that I really appreciate the fact that they are such kind and empathetic people in how they treat others, regardless of the fact that they've achieved so much success, considering that a lot of other people don't necessarily keep those values once they get a lot of power. And she responded really well to me saying that, and then She hugged me. I think that about wraps up my experience of attending SnyderCon. I think I've made it fairly clear by now that it was an amazing event and that I really enjoyed being able to attend. If there is another one, I would absolutely love to go. If I were to pick the 3 films that I would like for him to screen for the next one, I would say Man of Steel, 300, and Sucker Punch. Not that I didn't like the ones that he chose for this one, but simply to cover more excellence from his body of work. In a broader sense, I also hope that more directors will follow suit and consider doing events like these. In particular, I think it would be super fun to see Guy Ritchie do an event like this, since I know that he does not like doing junkets, but I think it would be a really cool experience, not just for me as a fan of his work, but because of the fact that it would be completely different if he was in a room full of people that do admire his work specifically and would have a lot of questions for him specific to what makes him unique as a director. And also, I just really want to get the opportunity to ask him what is going on with the Rock and Rolla sequel. Am I going to bring that up in every new video that I make? Well, let's see. Like, comment, and subscribe, since I have a lot more videos that I want to make in the coming months that are about different films that I really enjoy. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Vero, and make sure you go watch my recent review on Shazam. I worked really hard on it and no one has watched it, and I really want people to watch it. But that's it for now. Bye.
All right, wow, we got plenty of questions here. Let's send somebody over here. Yeah, good idea. There you go.
Please.
Did you say that? Behave yourself. All right,
Right here.
A woman got a question. There she is, right up front.